This drinking water holding tank. I made a wooden saddle. In last week's video, I installed the saddle that holds the RO water tank in the cab over, and I continued work on the bench seats.
Welcome back. My name's Jax, and I'm taking this Ford E350 cargo van and converting it into an RV.
So yeah, we got a 1.5 to 1 1/4 bushing and a 1 1/4 what do we call these guys? A hose barb. So we're going to 90 that, and then there's going to just be a cap down here, which is just going to plug that hole. That's really a non-issue there. And then ball valve, which is going to go into here. That's going to be the supply. Then this one's going to be the vent. So that'll go into there. We've got a 1/2 inch. We've got a 1/2 inch hose. That's going to be the vent so that this holding tank doesn't implode or explode, depending on whether you're filling or draining. And then we've got a 1.25 inch bulk fill line, which is going to connect to there, and then going to connect to this city water box. We're going to have to cut a hole in the van and mount that. The water tank storage area here, I've got a couple of things I got to do. I got to modify that hole down there a little bit. I do want this is the vent hose. I do want the vent hose situated above the fill line. So I got to modify that hole. I'm going to shift this tank over about where I've got this stubbed piece of plywood in here, the mount for the pump. And then I need to put a separator. I need to hold the tank in place, so I'm going to use some plywood, and we're going to fasten that down to the floor and the wall, and it'll be a nice, tight, secure way of holding the tank in from fore and aft. We'll do the same thing there in the mid. We'll run a stringer, so to speak, over to the wall and fasten it in. We've got the box, the bench interior all partitioned and painted, and the plumbing installed. Bulk of it. I still got quite a bit to go. We've got the main filler hose. We've got the breather hose. I've got to get the supply over to the sink. There's a supply that's going to go up to the fill set here for the city water connection, and I got to mount that in today too. So a little bit of farting around for sure. Well, I'm kind of stuffed on the plumbing at the moment. The box that I purchased for the city water and the bulk fill just isn't going to work out the way I'd hoped it to. So I'm going to make some modifications to it a little bit, and we'll go from there. All right, so it's the middle of November, and it's like, I don't know, 40 some degrees. It's supposed to get up into the 50s today and tomorrow. So I'm going to try to take advantage of that reasonably moderate weather and try to get this this bulk fill box installed. Now I've completed it, and that's basically the finished product. If you're looking at it from like the outside, so this is that original fill box that I purchased, and what I ended up doing was I ground off the back of it, and I'm just going to use it as a faceplate. So this will be mounted from the outside, and then there'll be a little lock, and then we'll be able to access the inside of this. So what I've got here is, this is the bulk fill, and this is going to be the vent, and then this is going to be the city water fill. This is going to facilitate filling the tank. So this is a cap, a temporary cap that goes on here. Prevents anything from getting down in there, bugs and things like that. There's another adapter that fits on there that I can hook a hose to. And it's vented, so it doesn't have to worry about getting the tank being blown up from air pressure or whatever. So, but for right now and in the general purpose, this cap will screw on and will prevent the water from coming out, which won't be very likely, but otherwise keeping the bugs and whatever else. So then this is the city water fill, so we'll hook a garden hose to that, and the pressure from the city water, wherever that may be, could be connected to somebody's house. It could be could be in an RV park and connected to their water there. All we have to do is just open up this valve, and then that water is brought into the van and then to the sink and whatnot. And then in the back, which you can't really see when we turn it around, is a vent, which it's just got a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch hose barb, which is the vent that goes directly to the tank, to keeping the tank from imploding or exploding. And that's got a double screen on there to keep the bugs out as well. Now, right now this doesn't have a back on it, but I do intend on fiberglassing a cover to keep this watertight. So what I'll probably end up doing is using some leftover fiberglass from when I cut out the windows, and then I'll fiberglass that back onto here, and it'll be nice and reasonably pretty. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm probably going to mount it here in this cavity, like that. Now it's going to be in the wall. I have to cut around in the wall, so it'll go in another 1.5 inches, and then I'll fiberglass epoxy set this to the outside of the van. I wanted it tight against the cabinet here, but unfortunately there's a stud right here, so I gotta shift it over, but we're gonna cut that out right now with the multi-tool. Okay, so we'll take some thickened epoxy here. Now I've coated this edge with resin already. It's set up so there should be a pretty natural bond. Now this edge is rounded because I wanted it to sort of fill it out. And create an extra bond, extra thick bond on this outside edge. So when I push it in there, it'll squeeze out. And that's it. And we'll be able to install this baby. We should be able to push that right in, and that'll be done. That'll epoxy that in, and then when I put the cover on the outside, there'll be screws through the outside fiberglass into the wood, and that'll bond that too. So that baby isn't going to go anywhere. So that's it for that part. Now we just got to let that set. There it is. There we go. Not bad. Not bad. Let that butyl tape work. Now we're gonna get some caulking in there. I probably won't film that. That's gonna be a little bit fiddly, but some caulking on this edge and partway up this here to help prevent the water from coming back if there's a leak. So, well, what will end up happening is if there's an overfill, like if we overfill the tank, it's gonna gush back out of here. But I'm gonna put epoxy back on here. I just didn't want to do it yet because I wanted access from both sides while I putzed with this installation. So we'll put the back on later. But that's it. That's the box. And then there's this little flap here that will allow the city water hose to come out. So that works out pretty good. So, all right, now that the fill box and the cover plate are installed, now I can focus my attention on the rest of the plumbing that is associated with that. I gotta go ahead and remove this strap, which basically I just used it to hold the box in place while I was monkeying around inside the van yesterday. I didn't want it to be moving around and losing its bond, so I put that strap on there to hold that on there, so I can take that off now. So we've got the bulk water fill, big 1.25" ID hose. Then we've got this 1/2" barb here. This is going to be for the tank's vent. And then this SharkBite PEX fitting is going to be connected to the pump set down here, which is just beyond what's that called, a backflow valve, check valve, and that's going to be our city water connection. So and then that'll sum up the plumbing. Pretty much everything will be connected for as far as the plumbing is concerned. Now we'll have to do a leak test and whatnot next spring once we get more closer to things being complete, but that's next spring. I'm not going to put any water in here over the winter. There's just no point in doing that. So so we'll get those plumbing lines ran, and we'll work on a back cover for this box. We'll get that sealed on there and screwed on there, and then we'll paint that up so it looks, you know, like it's supposed to be there. Maybe we'll throw some caulking around this this perimeter, and go from there. Hoping that this will just curve into there. Might require hands. That's in. Oh yeah, that should work. Right about there. that. That is the fresh, or the city water fill. So that's the city water. Now we can bring in, I think we don't need the PEX anymore. It's extra. Now I gotta bring in this 1.25 inch hose. That's pretty good fitting there. You gotta get this hose connected down. Might be better. Certainly doesn't clamp down on there very well, or it doesn't fit very well on that fitting. I might have to get more than one clamp. Now for the vent. Gotta run to, assuming it's gonna run in behind and then come up. Cut that out. we go. Done. I mean, not really. I'm not happy with that 1.25 inch pipe, but such as it is for now. I'll ponder on it. I'll likely order some different stuff. I'll see. Thank you very much for tuning in. Be sure to check out next week's video. And if you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe.